The way we pay for things is changing fast. And it's not just about credit cards and cash anymore. Digital wallets, QR codes, and even biometric payments are reshaping how money moves, and businesses that don't adapt risk getting left behind. But as payments become more seamless, they also become more complex, with security risks, hidden costs, and the challenge of managing multiple payment providers across borders. I wanted to explore what's really happening behind the scenes in the payments industry and why companies need to rethink their approach to these transactions. SheueChee, the head of partnerships for APAC at joins us so we can learn how payment orchestration is giving merchants more control, how alternative payment methods are changing global commerce, and why the battle between convenience and security is more important than ever. Before we get to that, let's have a quick word from our sponsor. Before we jump in, let's thank the sponsor of this episode, Dr. Tech. Dr. Tech can help you build your e-commerce store and start selling quickly online and on social media in just a few days. And Dr. Tech stores are gorgeous, modern, and responsive. They are fully customizable and simple to use. Dr. Tech stores have hundreds of included optimizations that will help you sell more online, and a support team that can answer all of your questions. With Dr. Tech, there are no hidden costs, no commissions on sales, no add-ons to buy. Everything is included in one simple subscription. So go to hello.dr.tech/ATP to get a free trial and start building your store. You can find the link in the description below. Also, Dr. Tech is offering a special deal to the listeners of the Asia Tech podcast. After your free trial, you can get your first full month for only $1. To get this deal, simply type ATP into the live chat and they will send you a special promo code. Thanks again to Dr. Tech for sponsoring, and now let's get back to the show. Okay, I want to ask you this. And based on all your experience as well, right? Because you have a perfect view onto this. You've been in this, like you said, for 20 years. But it means you've seen all this progression, right?
Yeah.
What are the real problems that modern payment companies are trying to solve, or that they are solving, right? Since payments has been around for a long time, whether it's been bank settlements and all these other things to do.
Yeah.
What are the problems you're trying to get solved today?
Yeah. So if we are really looking into the payments, some of my colleagues has been also talking about century. Everybody is talking about payments. Then we talk about fintech, right? Fintech
Right.
is some kind of a new things in the past 15 years. And as you can see that if we are really, really looking back decades and centuries ago, there is always innovations and make payments more and more convenient, from travel checks, right, to credit card, right, and then to checks, which I know some of the countries is still using check, but not all countries are doing that. And then we are now working towards contactless. People are debating whether do we still need a card, and people are also debating, should I use contactless with my phone or wearable? And then today we are also looking at what about pay by palm, right? Pay by palm, pay by our face. So if you're looking at these innovations, the focus is really on customer experience. We are trying to solve the problems of bringing the customer more and more seamless experience. At the same time, we are also looking for protecting the customers from fraud, because you can fraud check, and therefore that is credit card, and then you can fraud card. That's why we go into token, we go into contactless, and then so on and so forth. So it is constantly the objective of problem solving for payment is customer experience. Yeah.
So I had a really interesting conversation a couple of days ago with a guy from GSMA, right? So, and they run all of these mobile conferences, but they also run all of these, the association for the mobile operators over which all of these payments happen, right? And one of the biggest things that he was talking to me about was fraud protection, and how companies are working on this, because you have to have this balance, it seems to me, between convenience. Sure, I'd love, like when I built a house in Tokyo, I didn't carry a key with me because I just installed a finger reader, right? So my daughter couldn't forget her keys, and my mother-in-law could just have her finger there. It was simple.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely someone's going to cut your finger off, seriously, to break into your house.
Yes, exactly.
But are we innovating for like palms and eye scanning and stuff like that? Is this really making the customer experience better and easier? Or isn't just like swiping a card I'm trying to figure out like what's better for me. And I'll tell you what, I almost never carry cash anymore.
Yep.
Because once I figured out I could scan the QR code to pay for my, subway ticket, my whole life changed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
My
it
whole life changed. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it require educations and also raising a lot of awareness and the confidence level for the consumer, right? If we are, yeah, exactly. If we are only talking about you and me and every day, just pretend that we are just a payment persons, you will not simply change your way of paying. For example, many of a very affluent tech people, they still do not believe on wearable, right? Pay by palm and all that. What if the finger is being cut off, right? And
Right.
and things like that. But we have to understand that, of course, people who created that, they thought about all this. So we have to respect that. For the fingerprint, just to share with you, there is a pulse as well. So if you cut off the finger and they can't actually detect your pulse, it doesn't work, right?
I
But
didn't know that.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, you didn't know that.
Nope.
That's why we have to talk about this, right? We have to raise awareness. And credit cards, people have been saying like, this is people will steal my credit card. I can't key in my numbers into the website and all this kind of things. But behind that, there are lots and lots of data point that we are checking just without the customers knowing it. Say, for example, your IP address, where are you located, and all these things like your email, matching of your address, and all this information actually form the security level which the consumer is not knowing of. And therefore, I keep saying like there are a lot of soldiers behind fighting all this every single other day, where we really need to educate people. We need to let them know that whenever there are innovations coming up, it takes time. But then with the more and more people knowing it, it will change. Just like yourself, Michael, you just mentioned that you never have a wallet or cash now because it's
Never.
not required. Right?
Never.
Yeah. So there will be people starting from, hey, I use credit card. There will be people then go into, maybe I will put my card into my phone. But then there is another steps. There will be people then started to use the wearable, right? Not a lot of people using wearables still. So it is always step by step, and it is innovating slowly.
Yeah, I mean, one of the other conversations that I was having with Julian Gorman from GSMA was, we did talk about fraud, and I also had this conversation about, I always have my phone with me.
Yeah.
But it also means that now I have to be super careful because I've lost one wallet. But I wasn't freaking out when I lost it. This was maybe like 20 something years ago. And I was like, oh, darn it, I lost that wallet. It didn't have that much money in it. It had a couple of credit cards in it.
Yeah.
And I liked the wallet, but I mean, I could afford to buy another one. So I didn't really care because there wasn't anything in there that was life-changing.
Yeah.
But now, but your whole life, between whatever watch you're wearing and whatever phone you're carrying, your whole life is there.
Exactly.
And now if you lose it, it could be fatal, right?
Yep.
Because no one was going to be able to drain my bank account by having my wallet before, but they could literally drain my bank account if you have my phone. It's hard. You can do it, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Like imagine, let's not talk about they stole your wallet, because if they really, really stole your phone, what they can do is they can, you can still disable it. You have Find My Phone or things like that. You can disable, doesn't matter. But imagine that you've been kidnapped in some country, right? They are actually putting a knife in front of you and say like, transfer $10,000 right now. What are you going to do? Are you going to transfer it?
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah.
So being a payments a geek myself, with my friends and all that, we have been constantly thinking about
that.
Yeah, thinking about that, and what should we do and how do we do that? And of course, personal safety, number one, don't go and walk by yourself in a dark space. I mean, those kind of things like all you and I know, but it is also extremely important for us to be able to set what do you really want to have, every single things that you have within the phone itself. And that comes with your questions before, convenient and customer experience and fraud, right? It is not convenient for me to put all my saving accounts into my phone, but we have to ask ourselves, is it necessary? Do I need 5 bank accounts with me and all my money in there? Do we need to do that? Yeah, it's obviously not. Yeah, so of course, lots and lots of uh, um, arguments and a school of thought on how to make sure it is safe. And therefore, we have a couple of conversations. Let's not talk about the kidnap things because it's a very rare case. It's just a day-to-day conversations.
Right.
Many of the fintech company is giving the convenience and the control back to the consumer, meaning you can set how much you want to control your risk. Do you want to be able to do it 200,000 per transactions, which is what Pay Now can do? Or you can set yourself like, if there's anything above $1,000, I'm going to just do another verification. I'll just have to go home and get my token or something like that. So the convenience has to be on your side and the consumer can choose. Yeah.
So I may be a bigger tech geek than you. I mean, let's just say we're on the same level. I love what's happening in this space.
Yeah.
Let me give you another example for me. I pay my rent every month. I'm not going to tell you what my rent is because it will make you sad. Because you live in Singapore and I live in Bangkok. It will make you very sad. But I pay it every month by transfer. I transfer it on my phone.
Yeah.
And because it's not a big number, but it's a bigger number than I normally spend.
Absolutely.
In my day-to-day life. And it makes me literally, it scans my face and makes me blink my eyes 3 times before it approves the payment.
Yeah. So it's
and
3
that's
times.
kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So we might find it like, hey, blink 3 times, it's not that hard. Well, I can do it, right? So all of this, whatever actions that it is required to do it, there will be something, the technology behind it is really, like I shared with you, the pulse, right? Cutting your palm, what can you use? Nothing. You can't do anything. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you must be familiar with UPI, the Unified Payments Interface in India.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And implementing this in India literally changed the game for the entire financial infrastructure in India.
Yeah.
But it really changed the game for small and medium-sized businesses there. And when I say small, I mean like one guy selling tea on the side of a road off the back of his bike.
Yeah.
Because that guy can now take payments digitally. He can have a digital wallet.
Yeah.
And that changes the game. How is that type of stuff affecting what's happening in Southeast Asia at scale, particularly on the SME side? And then how do you educate people? Right, in India, they had this issue where they have to tell 1 billion people now how to use this thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And that's difficult there, but there's another 670 million people in Southeast Asia, all of whom speak different languages, have different cultures, interact with financial services in a different way. How do you get that democratized down to SMEs and individuals in places where they may not be familiar with this?
Yeah. So I think there's always 3 things that people are talking about. Cheaper, faster, secured, right? Cheaper, faster, and secured.
Fair.
So UPI introduced it for free. It is a government regulations for peer-to-peer. And then whenever there's something for free, everyone will take part. Small businesses will take part. And not only small businesses, even the big businesses is taking part as well because of the volume that we're looking at, the 2 billion people in India.
I talked to a guy, he said $2 trillion. He said, this is exactly what he said. And I thought this was really interesting. Sorry to interrupt you. The Indian GDP is almost $4 trillion.
Yeah.
And he says $2 trillion goes through UPI.
UPI. Yeah.
So almost 50% of the GDP goes through UPI. I thought that was insane. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. So exactly, right? Faster, cheaper, and safer. And how can you really do it? It's the initiative like PIX, like UPI, like Pay Now, like PromptPay. It's a financial inclusions. It's a very, very, very high level of authorities that says, let's do it because handling cash, printing cash is more expensive. So talking about back to costs, right? Technology has already changed that because technology is making it faster and safer. And therefore, unless the people has been so used to cards, like so affluent with cards. But we have to understand that upcoming and developing economy, financial inclusion is extremely important, and payment speaks volume. You need to talk about the volumes games. And that's why in China as well, they have the wallets. And the source of fund of the wallets is not cards, right? It can be just a bank account, bank transfer, right? So we always have to look at faster, cheaper, and more secured. And this is not a hard thing to understand for consumer. And when they are being presented this in front of you, making it easy, visualize it, show them how to do it, educations, just put a couple of YouTube video with your influencer, they will be able to do that. Yeah. So this is why moving the consumer is extremely important. And when I was talking earlier on how all these innovations focus on the consumer behavior, this is part of it, like driving the consumer behavior to cheaper, faster, and more secured. Yeah.
Right. So again, just another personal story. I live in Bangkok. I don't drive here, but I often take a motorcycle taxi.
Yeah.
Right. I take a motorbike tons of different places because I don't really go that far away from my house like most people.
Yeah.
And it's just so convenient to get on a motorbike. But again, if I have 100 baht and it's a 37 baht fare, the guy has to give me 63 baht change. Like it's all a pain.
It's pain. Yeah.
And then one day I realized that guy probably has a QR code and a bank account. Because when I first moved to Thailand, the big story here was nobody has a credit card. Credit card penetration is really low. So e-commerce can't grow that fast because blah, blah, blah. It's too hard. When I realized, I told you 5 minutes ago, when I realized I could pay for the metro with a QR code. It's amazing.
Yeah.
When I realized I could pay my motorcycle taxi guy, literally, I remember asking one of the guys, "Do you have a QR code?" And he was like, "Of course." And he took it right out of his thing. It was laminated. He just held it up. And I'm like, because now I can tip him whatever I want.
Yep.
I can give him exact change. I don't have to worry whether he has a 20 baht piece. It's so easy. And this is what you mean, I think, when you talk about frictionless.
Yeah.
Because it's completely no friction at all.
Yeah. And very, very easy. Tomorrow, your experience will be shared with your daughter, with people around you. And you literally just use the phone and show them how to do it. And even my dad is able to do it. So, right? So it is not as hard when you are really putting yourself into the user's perspective and think of what exactly is meaningful and how to make our life better. And that is payment innovations. And I'm very, very passionate about how to make things move slowly but surely.
So can we do something in reverse, if you don't mind?
Yep.
We spent a lot of time on this call talking about how it works for consumers, but how does it work for a business?
Yep.
Right. Because if I'm a small business, I have 7 people working for me. We're making payments, taking payments. We're also paying suppliers and doing all this other stuff. So we want the whole thing to work together in unison. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not just so worried about getting paid by people at a cash register. And I use that term very loosely today. Does anybody even have a cash register anymore? Is that even a thing?
Yeah.
But what does it look like from an SME side, right? Where they're thinking payments are friction for me. How does a payment orchestrator make it better for an SME or even a micro SME so that their payment life cycle is easier, if that makes sense, right? Not just getting paid for the product, but doing all the other things with their money that they have to do that's hard.
Yeah. So I think for payment orchestrator, we can start with, if you don't mind, I'll start with enterprise and then we go to the SME. Because payment orchestrator was born mainly because of a big merchants, and they are just having transactions on more than one countries, and then
constantly.
Constantly. And especially today in the interconnected world, somebody in Thailand is selling to someone in Nigeria, right? It's very, very common. Even SME, not only enterprise, even SME. If someone in Thai is trying to teach Thai language to somebody in China, you can do it. You can literally sell anything. But if we are really looking at the payments ecosystems today, everyone will say there is no one size fits all. So in Thailand, you probably will work with bank like Krong Thai Bank, Bay, or someone like that. But can they actually help you to sell all over to countries like Mexico or Brazil or even Singapore. So who can they work with? So then they will be thinking about, I can work with PayPal because people over there might have PayPal. But funny enough, like lots of people has PayPal, but there are also many countries that doesn't have PayPal. So in Brazil, people are using Pix, right? Pix, which is the UPI equivalent. So who can actually help them? Probably they can use Bay in Thailand, and then or they can use Stripe in Singapore, and they can use Adyen in a couple of different countries. So how payment orchestrator come in is to give the merchants, give the power back to the merchants, to give them a tools that if you want to sell to anywhere and you want to work with different partners taking a different payment methods, you'll be able to arrive there without only relying on one payment gateway that you are working on. And therefore, payment orchestrator is becoming an important payment tools plus operationally for reporting, for settlement on behalf of the merchants. Yeah. So that is the tools that we are talking about in terms of payment orchestrator. And I would say like this is payment 3.0 because you heard a lot about payment gateway. You heard a lot about PSP. So now it is the disruptor coming again. And then you'll be seeing that who would be the up and coming payment orchestrator. There will be a couple of them trying in the different countries or different continents. Some of them are really, really strong in US. Some of them are strong in Europe. And then what about Latin America? What about APAC? So I think it is still blue oceans for people to solve the current problem. Then we talk about SME. SME, they are growing. They need options. When there are options, optionalities brings down the cost because it's more competitive. I can choose between acquirer A, acquirer B, and acquirer C, and therefore it will not be one options that someone will hold you in ransom that you're gonna just have this, you're gonna pay 3%, that's it. Yeah, you don't have a checkpoint from that sense. So if you have a benchmark with another provider where you can work with, payment orchestrator will be able to help you with not just cost, but also all the other performance, all the other reporting, normalize all this for the merchants. Yeah.
But there are a bunch of different things happening at once, right? And again, because I live in Southeast Asia, because I've lived here for a while, and even when I was living in Japan, it was the same thing. You have these SMEs that are literally like family businesses.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of them. They're not publicly traded companies. And what that means is that like grandma and grandpa started this business. They passed it on to like two of their, to two guys, mostly guys, but some gals as well. So to an aunt and an uncle, let's say. And they're in their 60s right now or late 60s, and their kids are in their 30s and 40s. And those kids, went to law school. So now you have these older people who aren't so tech savvy, but now they have an opportunity to do cross-border. Whereas before, if you were in Malaysia, you did business in Malaysia. That was it, because it was too hard to get your products anywhere else. But now all of that stuff, supply chains are have less friction. So how do you teach those people how to use these systems, which again, if they were originally built for enterprises, can be really complicated? Like I'm thinking about all these moving pieces, and just talking about it is complex.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
But it's huge. But it's a huge opportunity as well.
It is a huge opportunity.
Huge.
Yeah, huge. So let's just talk about case study, right? So you're talking about, okay, I want to teach. I'm an older generation. I just want or Airbnb. Which one do you like? Would you like to talk about Airbnb type, or do you want to talk about I want to teach English or I teach Thai? Yeah.
Yeah. In a way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, a lot of these SMEs are manufacturing.
It doesn't matter.
Companies.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So let's talk about Airbnb type, right? There are all this type of a sort of like marketplace that they can go to, right? So they will go to the marketplace, Airbnb or Agoda Home or and the like, and then they just put their listing over there. They can sell to people in Spain when they want to come and live at their home. But it is constantly disrupting. Because of this, they were being charged maybe 30% of their margin, right? So they have a kids. Their kids is able to basically do TikTok, have a what is that called, TikTok account, Instagram,
I
and
hadn't even
then
thought about it. Yeah, but you can completely
you you,
disintermediate
you
the
you can
platforms.
completely right get away that. And then the problem comes with payments then, because yeah, you can sell, you are influencer. I am my young kids, he's probably super famous in promoting my house in Thailand. What am I going to do, right? So because you're bringing in into the SME, so then I have to put the SME problem statements over there, but I want to sell to somebody over there. So when that happened, that evolved into TikTok shops and all those kind of things. And what can we as a payment orchestrator or a payment expertise come into play? It is to really tell them, who are you targeting? Where do you think most of your tourists come from? Is it from Brazil? Is it from Europe? Is it from US? Or is it from Japan? So we have to ask them, where is your customers coming in? Then we'll be able to sort of like say, how would you like to highlight them to pay? Do you want them to pay upfront, or do you want them to pay later after they check out? So all these kind of conversations has to happen. And what I'm saying is, as you can imagine, TikTok is becoming a tools, right? Payments orchestrator is also a tools, but how to make it happen? It is about knowing what are you trying to solve, and then we will advise. If you want to attract people from Japan, I think PayPay is a really good wallet, because most of the people are using PayPay. We have to accept PayPay, right? So then payment orchestrator will have to find a provider where they can accept PayPay in that particular example. So that is why how payment orchestrator plus the people who is building the orchestrator will connect the dots of making things happen to solve this problem, because things are changing. Like I said, TikTok is starting to do that, and TikTok will be saying like, hey, I can process your payment as well. And why are they so happily wanting to process payment on your behalf? It's because the money is there. When the money movement come into that particular platform, that is where the opportunity lies. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I know why you left your other jobs to do this.
Yeah.
It didn't take me long to understand how committed to this and how passionate you were about this. You can just hear it in your voice. But now that I understand exactly what's going on here, see, I used to have this theory about department stores.
Yeah.
Okay. When I grew up, and you'll see where I'm going with this, because I think this is where the payment orchestrator comes into play, and I think you'll see where it goes in a second.
Yep.
When I was a kid, we used to drive down the main street. My mother would literally stop at a bakery, stop at a butcher shop,
Right.
and then buy the stuff there, and then maybe go a little bit to the supermarket to get some fruit and stuff. But probably my grandfather was in the fruit business, so probably not even that. And then we'd go home. And I think if you look at big shopping streets like Fifth Avenue, there's a shoemaker, there's a tie guy, there's a pants person, all these people. And then they had these gigantic department stores, but those department stores got messy and hard to deal with. You couldn't find the product and all this stuff. It just got hard.
Yep.
And then it got disintermediated and disambiguated and back down to these small shops. And I think that's what's happening with shopping today online.
Yep.
You had these massive platforms, right? And then people were like, Lazada's fine, Shopee's fine, but the products that I really want are being sold by an influencer on TikTok. And that gal has to have a way to take payment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why being an orchestrator matters, because what you have to do is you have to take all these really complex payment options for them and just go, you don't need to care.
Yep.
Here's a front-facing interface, and I'm simplifying just to make a point, but here's a front-facing interface. And if somebody wants to buy something for you, they just click on the thing how they want to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
You get your money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. Exactly,
because they are so complex, and the born of many of all this marketplace, right? Amazon, Expedia, Uber.
Yep.
Why are we so happily wanting to be in the forefront of the fund transfer and all this? And you want to sell to as many people as possible. But the intricacy, the complexity of selling that, there has to have someone who is able to provide you a technology tools plus the brain to really ask the right questions to the seller. Who are you targeting? And then I'll be
Exactly.
telling you what is the payment methods that they are used to. Because, like I said, PayPay, Pix, UPI, you name it. Not everyone is like having a Visa and MasterCard. And there are so many other different wallets out there in the world. And it is just extremely fragmented. And therefore, payment orchestrator is solving that problem. And it was not like that many years ago, even before COVID. People will still be happily buying within
Yeah.
Thailand, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
today, we travel and we want to buy something from Thailand. I remember the snacks that I had. How
Right.
am I going to reach that? And today, if you really see it, the supply chain, everything is a lot more frictionless, and payment has to come with it.
So do we have a situation now? Because I was reading something about this in the middle to the end of last year, where UPI is going to connect to Pay Now, which is
Yep.
going to connect to Prompt Pay.
Correct.
And if that's the case, then that means, because right now when I go to Singapore, and I'm there a lot, right, for work, but when I'm there, nobody wants to take cash from me.
Yep.
But what if I don't have a credit card? Like, it seems weird that I can't, because I don't use credit cards for anything in Thailand. All I do is, and it doesn't matter if it's $1,000 or 1,000 baht. It doesn't matter. I'm still scanning. I just don't care, because the money's in my bank, and I'm either going to pay it through a credit card company to them. It doesn't really matter to me. But if UPI and Pay Now and Prompt Pay are connected, does that mean I can just like scan stuff everywhere and the FX just happens in the back?
Yes.
That's
So
amazing.
it is. It is. So that is called Project Nexus. Okay. The Project Nexus is trying to connect all this UPI to Prompt Pay to Pay Now and all that. And when you were saying, Michael, about the credit card, even you have a credit card, we have to also make users like all of us to understand that you are paying a very high exchange rate FX. Okay. So yeah, you're being charged either by the merchants if you are choosing, let's say you come to Singapore. If you are choosing to pay in Singapore dollar, you will pay certain markup, right? And that could be up to 6-7% market rate.
I know, it's
And
insane.
then it's insane. And then if you choose to pay with your credit card, which is your Bay card or your UOB card in Thailand, you will be still get charged when you go back, or 3-4%, 2%, or whatsoever. Of course, you get some rebates and things like that, and stuff like that. But as a user, optionality is also important, because UPI and Prompt Pay and all that, it's another options to cards, because cards is expensive, number one, and not everybody has cards. So it gives you another options, and also the transparency immediately on the exchange. Because if you really remember, you don't know how much you're getting charged if you're paying credit card, right? Is it 3%? Is it 4%? Is it 5%? And it adds up, right?
But I feel bad too, because look, we talked about this before we started recording, but I worked at Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs for 20 something years.
Right.
I know how the foreign exchange markets worked. I've done a $700 million FX trade.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
But most people haven't. And they don't understand how currencies work. They don't understand the spread. And some of the people that do FX trades, they're a little bit sneaky about it. They say no fees.
Yeah.
Sure, no fee, but you're charging a 6% VIG on the bid offer spread.
Exactly.
So good for you. But one of the things that I do is I never. First of all, I keep money in three currencies. First of all. And second of all, when I travel to another country, particularly one like Singapore, I'm going there all the time. If I do get cash, I never, ever, ever turn it back into any other currency. I just keep it forever.
Yeah, same. So as you can imagine, the 3%, the 6%, or whatever percentage that we're talking about, the volume, it's huge. And the payment companies are trying to capture all these opportunities from Visa, from Master, for also giving an opportunity for other people who doesn't have cards or doesn't want to use cards, or really being very calculative on what is the exchange rates, or even go and compare the rate with the money changer. That is also another options, right? I just take my cash and then go to the counter in Bangkok. That is what I found, probably one of the very good way of exchanging. So all these things is a disruptions, and there are lots and lots of fintechs and payments companies company like ours to really trying to solve this kind of FX opportunity, cross-border payment. And therefore, with after COVID, cross-border globalizations, it's getting more and more popular. Everyone is not only the economy is already a global stage. It's no longer a regional or continents or a country now. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Look, I've learned a ton today from you, and I can tell how passionate you are about this. I want to let you go because I know you're busy, but I do want you to come back on because I feel like there's more to talk about. You don't have to, it
Right.
doesn't have to be next week or next month, but maybe like in 3 months, maybe like once a quarter as
Yeah.
things are changing. Seriously, I'd love to have you back on, and then we can dig deeper into like where things are going,
Yeah.
right? As
Yeah.
opposed to where things are today, because I think we could spend an hour talking about like what is a credit card company
Yeah. Exactly.
and
Like,
and why do
what
they
is
and
a
why do they
why?
yeah,
Yeah.
like why are they there and
Yeah.
how are they innovating? And then how does that play into what's going on for companies like, do you know what I mean? Because so many things are changing
Mm.
and a lot of the region in which we live has not used credit cards forever.
Yep.
So they don't care.
Yeah, correct. So
Anyway,
that is what we call alternative payment methods, right? The complexity come in, and we talk about enterprise as a not only enterprise, it's just a SME. The reporting that they have to really look into that. How are they going to look at so many different currency? How many bank accounts they
yeah.
want to open, right? To in order to do business worldwide. And if you are doing a buy sell things within your platform, how are you manage all the pay in, the payout, the fraud system? And therefore, payment orchestrator is having a really, really good tools for all these merchants. And as I said again and again, we are giving the power back to the merchants where they can decide who they want to work with. They want to work with Stripe, they want to work with Adyen, they want to work with Checkout, they want to work with A fraud company, B fraud company, they want to work with Waitze, they want to work for a payout company or Air Wallets or PayPal. I mean, it is all there. It is the option is there how to enable them. You need to speak with people like us, people like myself, being in the industry, passionate about it, wanting to solve the problems, knowing where the money's signs are. Happy to talk about that. Yeah. And lastly, I just wanted to say that we really do not want the merchants to put the money on the table because you don't know what you don't know, especially when I was telling you the effects of the credit cards, 3%, 6%, and all these kind of things. We don't know. We thought that that is just a cost of doing business. But if we understand the cost of doing business, then we can think about it differently. And therefore, the bond of marketplace where they become embedded finance and so on and so forth that we're talking about.
Awesome. SheueChee, head
Yeah.
of partnerships right back at thank you so much for doing this.
Yep.
You were amazing.
Thank you
Amazing.
so much. Thank you, Michael. Yep. Bye.